Hello, everybody. Welcome to Michael's Record Collection. I'm very excited to have with me from the German progressive rock band RPWL. Yogi Lang is here. Yogi, thank you so much for being with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
I am looking very forward to the release date of your new album, Crime Scene, which comes out March 17th from your label, Gentle Art of Music.
Yeah,
And first of all, I know you've had some back problems, Yogi. How are you feeling? How's your health?
good. Thank you. I had a surgery last year, and yeah, it's everything's perfect. I'm really glad, and this, to be honest, was the reason why we wanted to start producing a bit earlier. But yeah, glad that everything worked out so fine. So we could do the video that you might saw, and
Mhm.
we will do another one just right before the release. And so we're ready to tour at the end of March.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good to see you up and about. And back problems are nothing to joke
Ah,
about. They're no
yes.
joke. They're very difficult to deal with. So good that you were able to get through that. Before we get into your career and your music here, I wanted to ask you what I usually ask my guests, and that is, what was your first favorite record or the first album that kind of grabbed your attention when you were a kid?
Um, there were two pushes. One push was I remember that my cousin recorded a tape for me. And on the B side of this tape, it was a cassette. I was 10 or 11 years old. On the B side was the Animals album.
Oh, okay.
And Dogs really catched me. It was, I couldn't, I was not into music pretty much at that time. It was the first time I really recognized, okay, there's music that can emotionally reach you. And so I heard this cassette, I think, I don't know how many times,
Mhm.
without knowing what it is. And when I went, he lives about, I think, 200 miles from here. When we get there again, I said, "You gave me a cassette. What's this?" And he showed me the cover of The Dark Side of the Moon. And to be really honest, it was the cover that really catched me.
Mhm.
It was, I never saw that before. And he played it to me, and I recorded this. So I couldn't say if it was the Animals album or the Dark Side of the Moon album that really catched me, but
Mhm.
it's since this time, it's it's really, yeah, kind of written in my DNA. It was just like a virus. It was there, and it never left me. So it's when I asked if a record, I don't know if particularly this record, but it always, maybe a guy that I was talking last time just said, it's always like you're always hearing that Pink Floyd shimmering out somewhere in the music.
Mhm.
And since, but it's, I mean, it's so, I'm so socialized with this kind of music, so that I mean, you never go into the studio and have in mind, let's do something like or whatever. It's not even after the 25 years that we're together, but
Yeah.
it's always, it's like in your DNA. It's like, yeah, it's shimmering from everything that especially I'm doing, and yeah, but I'd back to the story. I don't know if it's really the Animals album that really catched me emotionally, or the Dark Side of the Moon album that I was really aware of what I'm listening to.
It's one of those, but it definitely comes out in your music ever since, and it's not a surprise that those two records really were the ones that captured your attention first,
Yeah,
because
really.
you like you said, you don't go into the studio saying let's go make let's go make a song that sounds like Pink Floyd. It just kind of you hear music in your head, and it is related to what has moved you personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So the band RPWL formed back in the late '90s as a Pink Floyd
Hmm.
cover band, and you named the band after the four members at the time: Phil, Paul,
Yeah.
Rossetio, Chris Postal, Kali
Hmm.
Wallner, and yourself, Yogi Lang. Was there was that always the order? Did you play around with the order of the letters, or was it always RPWL? Did you ever consider the other arrangements?
I I really don't know. I think at that time it was, yeah, it was a crazy time. It was because the RPWL thing was that I mean we started off, just it was not a real Pink Floyd cover band. It was just, we wanted to play live
Mm-hmm.
and playing old Pink Floyd songs. We never played the new ones. It was just, yeah, we played that old stuff and were the crazy guys who play four songs for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came to this, that we made a demo tape and all this stuff, that we're writing own songs during that time, I think it was in 98 or 99, that we had this demo tape that someone heard it from a label and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do something. Let's do a record. And we didn't have a name. We never had the name. We were just these crazy guys who play that old stuff, and it's funny if you go there. And so we always, I remember Phil Paul Rossetio always um, wanted to have the name Super Band because he thought we were super. And yeah, just in the label called us and said, "Hey, we can't release a record without a name. You're aware of that?" And I thought, "Hey, then let's take RPWL. That's okay." So Chris at that time asked me if I did the order because of Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hadn't got too many thoughts when I said that, because it was just releasing the record. Come on, what's your name?
Yeah.
And so it came to that. But Chris was, yeah, had the opinion that it was because of Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe. I still don't know. It were crazy times at that time.
So you met Chris and Kali. I think when you were making this record, you were producing the Violet District,
Yes,
Terminal
yeah,
Ground.
it was at the very beginning. I think we started at the late 80s, and it was 1990, I think, when we finished the record, a really long time ago. And this was the first time I met Kale. Was in 88, I think, or 87, when I mixed a band. I was engineering at that time, and I was going to a festival, and they asked me to mix it, and I thought, yeah, why not? And it came to me. It was like a wow, this can't happen at this place here in this area, because they were just. I thought they were a metal band,
Oh yeah.
and it was just like it was just, yeah, it was very. Violet District always appeared to me very Marillion-like
Mm,
at
yeah.
that time, and I was totally surprised. And I remembered that when I had the studio here around the corner, and wanted to do an album with them, and Kalle always said I talked them into it. I'm not sure, but I really thought they are great, so I wanted to do this record, really. And yeah, we did that. But yeah, and I remember that I played with Chris in a band at school. He wasn't a founding member of Violet District.
Hmm.
So, but I remembered that Chris had this Rickenbacker bass, and an old amp for it, and always played much too loud. And I said, "Hey, this is would fit perfectly. Let's do it with Chris."
Hmm.
And yeah, and so this record was a real experience. And then we were all drowned in studio work. I was producing, and Kalle was playing guitar, and he also played in the studio when I worked. And but in 1996, I think, to make the story complete, Kalle came to a studio I worked, and gave me a call and said, "Come outside, I have an idea." 97, something, late 90s. And he played to me Hole in the Sky, a demo of Hole in the Sky. And we were sitting in his, I think it was a Volkswagen Golf, with a, how we had it in the 90s, just with a subwoofer in it. And yeah, and we listened to this song, and I said, "Yeah, let's do something together." This was the real birth of everything, I think,
Yeah.
because this gave us this impression. First, we have to do music again. We just shouldn't be only in the studio. And second, we can do music together, because when he played the song to me, I just got the melodies in my head, what we need, and yeah, and we got the impression to do something together, and we had the impression we have to go on stage again.
Hmm.
So the Pink Floyd thing came, and the demo thing came, and all came together in this. You have to have a name, because without a name you can't release. And so it was, yeah, in 2000. Really funny that we, because of the pandemic situation, we couldn't do the tour for the 20th anniversary for God Has
Hmm.
Failed, and we did this movie instead, playing the record, and we were in the extras of the DVD and the Blu-ray. You see us sitting here in the whole, with the old lineup,
Oh,
and
okay.
talking about the album, and this was really like yeah a flashback.
Yeah, I
And
imagine
with
so.
every we get, and yeah, and yeah, it was the same fun listening to the records than at that time playing it. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up that particular song. That's the first song that I heard from RPWL,
Oh,
uh,
really? Okay.
from this album, the 2000 God Has Failed.
Yes, this is, yeah.
And you say that he played the song for you. What was on that tape? Was it just the guitar part?
No, he did a demo tape with a drum computer and
Okay.
the melody, everything. I think it was nearly everything, but not the vocals.
Did he have
And
lyrics already written, or did you
no,
write lyrics?
no, he played the tape to me at that time, and I remember I looked in the sky and said, "This is a song we have to fly into a hole, into a big nothing." And so the name of the song came up.
Where did the idea come from to include the clips, the movie clips and stuff that are in the song?
Um, you mean in the with the God Has Failed, with the anniversary album,
So
or
yeah, so in Hole in the Sky, we've got the movie clip inside the song of some
okay.
aliens and that kind of thing.
Um, Kalle had this tape because he always gathered these movie clips that he liked most together for the Violet District.
Mm.
They at least did it for Violet District, I think, and I think it was one of these old tapes that he brought up to. Something is missing. Let's do this. And I thought it's a nice, because it makes this tension of something's happening, and it's really a cool thing. He also had this tape with his heart tones. that is on the Hole in the Sky song. It's really Kalle's heart
No kidding. I
that's
didn't
on
know
it.
that. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
So it was clear to me from this was the first album that I bought from you guys, and it had been out for a little while, I think about 3 years maybe, and it became obvious that and I before I knew anything about RPWL, it sounded like I could tell the Pink Floyd influence, but you took it in your own direction, and some of those early songs were just so hauntingly beautiful, Crazy Lane and Farewell and God Has Failed. And I understand that I'm not sure if it was you or somebody in the band with you, but this was a very personal album,
Yeah.
lyrically a very personal album, and the line God has failed is a very provocative line, a very provocative phrase to title the album. But I imagine when you lose somebody that you care about, that's the thought that goes through your mind. That
As you're absolutely right. At that time, my father died. And it was exactly at that time I was writing lyrics. And this was really the first thought that I had that he may failed. Maybe it's wrong, and who tells me that this is that everything is right, what's happening? So all these thoughts that are not um, really that are more emotional thoughts.
mm-hmm,
This is not really a statement that is coming from the brain, if you want. So it's more a question that comes from the heart without really yeah without this question doesn't want a discussion. It's just a statement, how you feel.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. In 2010, you founded Gentle Art of Music, your own label.
Yeah.
What led you to that decision, and how does somebody go about starting their own label?
um, it was very easy at that time because we were with, at that time I think we were with SPV. That was our distribution, and they went bankrupt.
Oh yeah.
And so we had the decision to change things and search another label and distribution, or we just do our own business. And this was something we always had a bit in mind, I think, to stand on our own feet, not asking someone, just doing what we want to do. And we also had in mind to do other bands, to help other artists, just to spread the thing. At that time, I think Kalle had his already had his Blind Ego thing going, so it was clear that we don't do a label just for one band.
Mm-hmm.
It's one band that has a label, but for different artists, and it worked out really fine. So we are really, really. It was one of our best decisions we did,
Yeah.
because now we can work. We work with, I don't know, Subsignal. We're producing Sylvan. We're producing a lot of things, and not only our solo projects. So it's a good thing.
I didn't realize Sylvan was on your label. I love those guys. Those guys are great.
Yeah,
So 2002, you put out "This Is Trying to Kiss the Sun,"
yeah,
and I could see the SPV label or logo on the back
yeah,
along with it Inside Out. Um,
yeah.
the next one I want to talk to you about is from World Through My Eyes, and you have a song on here with a guest vocalist, Ray Wilson, who was in Genesis and Stillskin. How did you and Ray meet, and how did this collaboration sort of happen?
I heard Ray during the Calling All Stations tour here in Munich, and I always I know it's a bit let me be provoking again. And then I say it was Genesis with a real singer.
Yeah, that is provocative.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I take this back. But I was really surprised. So it was really cool. So the whole concert. I still work. I just at the moment I have an artist and near set is playing drums um, in the US and sent me the file. So it was a great concert. Um, and Ray and us were on the same label at Inside Out at that time.
Okay.
And
That's
so
right.
I had this song. I think we did Roses in 2001, and I never found the real. I did the vocals, and it was everything okay, but it seemed that I just missing a link to that we say, hey, now let's release it. Now it's a good song. Now it's and I asked the label if I can ask Ray if they give me a number or something. And it turned out that he was playing just I think yeah in just 50 kilometers from here.
Hmm.
And I went to the concert and I came there with my demo CD and said, "Hi Ray, I'm Yogi, and could you please listen to this song? I think it really would, your voice will really fit, and it's a nice song. So maybe it's cool." And he had this look in his eyes. So um, yeah, that he will never call. You know this. Don't call me, I call you.
Yeah.
This was exactly this look, and so I just after 3 or 4 days, I got a call, and he said, "I listened to the song. This is great." And he recorded the vocals. I think he was in Scotland at that time.
Hmm.
Now he's living in Poland, but it was in Scotland at that time, and he recorded it, and it was great. It's
Yeah.
I was really everything. We were all satisfied with it. It was really it gave the song the glance that I was missing. I was always hearing his voice on this song, and it's not that I don't want to sing it.
Hmm.
It's great live, and we also did it. I think we sang it together one time on a DVD that we did for Metal Mind, and yeah, but it's great. It gave the song exactly that what we had in mind.
Yeah, it's a great song. I imagine it's one of the favorites among your fans. It's really terrific. Now, I think I'd forgotten you were on the same label. Was he touring for the Change album at that time? Was that what it
I
was?
think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
terrific record that one is too. Yeah, his voice is perfect for that song, and you do a very good job on it as well. I've got the live video for the RPWL live experience, and
Hmm.
it's on there. So, yeah, great song. Well, I love the album. Love the World Through My Eyes record. Really, guys, don't put out a bad record. You guys just keep somehow figuring out how to put out new music that's good. Um, the so this new album, Crime Scene, is your eighth studio album, and it's the first one since Tales from Outer Space 2019. And it's a themed album, or it has it explores the themes of evil and the evolution of evil. Are we born evil? Do we learn to be evil? How does that? When did that sort of become the focus of sort of conceptually what this album was going to be? And is that something that started with you? Did you and Callie talk about it? How did that sort of happen?
Hmm. Nice that you ask, because this is what I was asking myself. Was it because it was getting? I mean, Tales from Outer Space is very colorful, and of course with a science fiction theme and all this. Um, yeah, and but I think Kalle came with ideas for a new album. Hey, listen to that. And it was, I think it was it was a bit darker. All the ideas were a bit darker. Maybe it's, I mean, we have here in Europe, especially, we have a war right in front of our doors. So it's,
Mhm.
that is, even for me as the typical post-war kid, that never saw anything else than the great freedom, and when I was young, Europe was opening to one big, friendship. It's a thing that my kids never, they don't know, they even don't know how it was before. So
Mhm.
it's when we were, so maybe the times are darker. I don't know. I think his ideas were darker, but and led me to this. I had the crime scene thing I had in mind for, at least a couple of years. I wanted to do an album about this good and bad thing, and but with this, the idea that we really do this with half and half of it as a kind of good and bad discussion, if you want, so, or getting digging a bit deeper in it, and the other half just trying to do, we tried to find really disturbing crime cases, and thought this was a good idea to mix that,
Mhm.
because the cases we had, we just tried to find cases that leave you with a big question mark. How could they? Is this good? Is this bad? I don't know. I'm totally confused. So this should be the thing. And so this lyrical idea and the music came together, and I think pushed one pushed the other into this direction of leading into this, a bit darker. Is it really darker?
I think it
I mean,
sounds
the
darker. Yeah.
lyrics, of course, the lyrics are darker. I think it's not so colorful. It's more down on the earth,
Mm.
the music, in my feeling. And but um, I never feel so much before. It was the same with Tales from Outer Space, that the music and the lyrics were just corresponding and gluing together in one direction. But this time it was even more. I think it was the dark ideas and the cases coming, and then reacting to it. So it was an interesting recording and
Yeah. So
producing.
you hear music from Kali and it sort of stimulates your mind to go into particular directions.
This time it definitely was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with your last album coming out in 2019, when did the writing start for Crime Scene?
Um, I think I started writing, um, I think it was 1.5 year.
Mm.
It's 1.5 year. So it was really, I was trying to put things together. I heard the first ideas, but we didn't start immediately with recording and producing. So um, it was a long time that just ideas were lying there, and ideas were coming together, and we gathered together our thoughts, and that we really started producing. I think it was half a year or something. So
Okay.
it was not that much time, and it was, I had to go to the hospital,
Mhm.
and so it was, there was a kind of intermission, and but everything worked out. So It's cool. But it was a long time. Ideas were just lying there and growing and going into the direction of how it is on the record.
So when you went to the studio to record, was that after the lockdown had already been lifted? The pandemic already
Um,
gone?
it was I think it was there wasn't there wasn't this point when the lockdown was over. It was just now you can again go and do your things. You can go to work again. There was, I think, in the lockdown there was this. I mean, I had a good time because I was in the studio. I'm used to be alone.
Yeah.
I can. So it wasn't the great thing for me, but it's. Yeah, I think there was this point when it was step by step, and I think when we recorded, God Has Failed, the Revisited was the last thing that was happening here in our hometown in a hall. It was absolutely the last thing. We had the
And then
last
everything
slot,
got shut down right after that.
and then everything was shut down.
Okay.
So we were lucky with that. And I think when we recorded, it was uh, the all the signs were set to normal.
Okay. Got it. All right. So the lineup is yourself, Yogi Lang, on vocals and keyboards. Original member Collie Wallner, guitars, original member. You have Marcus Grutzner on bass, who's new in
Mhm.
2022,
Yeah,
replaced your old bassist, who I guess had to. Marcus, is his name pronounced Jallet? I'm not sure how it's
yeah,
pronounced.
yeah, yeah. Yile, but all
Jallet.
everybody says Jale.
Okay. He announced that he left the band in December for personal reasons after
Yes,
he was with
hmm
the band a long time. And
a long time. Yeah.
Mark Turio on
Hmm.
drums, who joined in 2008, replacing Manfred Mueller. And I was
Hmm.
curious as to with Marcus, your keyboardist, leaving, are you
Yeah,
adding a keyboard player for your live shows, or are you going to handle all the
yeah.
keyboards? You're adding.
Nay, for live shows, we definitely will have a keyboard player
Okay. All
to
right.
play it. But there's no need. I mean, it's not. It doesn't affect the studio work because I
Mhm.
always played the keyboards in the studio. It's just live. I mean, it's a kind of a cut because Marcus was with us for a very, very long time,
Yeah.
but he has a kid and still talking about pandemic. I mean, it doesn't affect me, but there were a lot of um, I think when we talked the last time and he offered that he couldn't do the tour, it was just I think in the kindergarten there was from a month it was 2 days open.
Oh wow.
The rest it was closed because
Mhm.
someone was ill, someone had corona. So it was yeah. I mean at the moment it's a mixture of COVID and because of wearing the masks and everything, everyone tried to be safe. There was is they're coming. You have the impression every disease that you could have now is coming. You know, again when everything is open.
Yeah.
So it's he had a hard time, and everybody understood that he couldn't do the tour because yeah it's an open thing when you have to rely on that your kid I think it's 2 years or something when
Mm.
and when everything is closed you can't stop the tour because I have to get my kid out of the kindergarten.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That is complicated.
Well, I know how that goes. I'm a father too, so I know that once the kids go back to school, if somebody gets sick, everybody gets sick.
Yes. That's
So,
the thing.
All right, so there's 6 songs on this album, and
Mhm.
it's short enough that you were able to do a vinyl for this album,
Yeah.
which is great. You have four. You've got yellow, blue, red, and traditional black that you're selling
Mhm.
through your website, gentleartofmusic.com. And people can go there and get that pre-ordered. They can get it autographed. They can get whatever those colors that they want, and that's all fun. Some people will probably go buy one of each, which is good for you guys. um, but these are all very very identifiably RPWL, but there are some subtle differences to some of these. And the Victim of Desire, the first track, is your first single from the album. And it starts with sort of this almost like a suspense or horror movie soundtrack sort of sound at the beginning and footsteps running. And it really sets the tone and the mood for this record. Where did
Mhm.
that idea come from?
Um, as I said before, we try to split the records into real cases and
Mm-hmm.
into thoughts we have about this crime scene thing. And there was this. I wanted to do, and as you said, I'm glad that you feel it, that you also feel the way I really it was intended to, because in this song we try to put ourselves into the world of a serial killer, and in our case it was a guy that um, went through a period of social isolation because of something happening in the past, whatever it is. But we wanted to bring the whole record into this mood of this to get everyone into this crime scene thing. That is really, it's not a real case, but
Mm-hmm.
it's could be. It could be.
Yeah.
It's us in a maybe in a movie or something.
Yeah. Well, that's like the video. You guys get to come in and save the day in
Yeah,
the video. RPWL saves the day. You guys are police.
yeah. We save the world, sure.
Yeah. How was that for you making the video? Was it a lot of fun or was it a lot of work or was it both?
Yes, both.
Yeah.
And it was great because the you have to you can't even in Germany you can't just dress up as a police officer. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. You have to get a police officer, and so we learned a lot from this police guys that we just they were reading the story and the script, and just no, we can't do that. And I said, why you can't do that? We would never do that. And there's this when they were laughing because there's this one scene when they get the serial killer, of course with our help. They
Yeah.
get the serial killer and they push him on the bed. And I remember he just turned to me and said, "You're aware that we would never do that. He would be right here on the floor."
Yeah. Yeah. We wouldn't make it easy for them.
And so, no, this was a real experience. So
Yeah.
we learned a lot, and it was nice working. And yeah, it was again for us. We even understood things more after doing this clip. So it was a great experience for us.
Yeah. Victim of Desire. The video is on the RPWL YouTube page. And what I like about the video too is that it's filmed like it's a crime drama on television that you're watching.
Yeah,
So it's very,
that
very,
yeah that
very cool.
that was the intention. I mean, just a clip that also emphasizes the tension that is coming up in the music. So it's
Hmm. So I noticed that the video is shorter than the song. Is there a bit of the music that's cut for the video?
yeah, there's a
Yeah.
bit a couple of things are cut, but it's mainly the song. So
Hmm.
it's
But the single on the streaming services is the regular length of the
Yes,
album. So uh,
yes.
I love an 8 minute single. It's great. um, Red Rose is this song with this got this beautiful acoustic guitar opening with
Mhm.
some electrical guitar notes with some echo, very dreamy start to that. Is that where Kali started the song, or did that intro come later?
No, that was this acoustic guitar idea.
Hmm.
That was the basic of the song. Yeah.
You've obviously we talked about roses. You've used rose before in your lyrics, and
Yeah.
what is it about the imagery of a rose that sort of captures your imagination?
I don't know. I had this. I mean, the story is we took the sweetness of the story. I mean, the story is bizarre because it was a happened in the U.S., but with a yeah, nobody knew if he was really a radiologist, but it was Karl Tänzler that I mean, at least he worked at a as a radiologist. Um, and it was in the 1930s, I think. And he fell in love with a young patient. And it was, as I remember, it was a young Mexican girl. And I always had this image in my head um, of her with curly hair and a rose in her hair,
Mm.
and he fell in love. I mean the story when yeah, it's a sad story because he felt I let's focus on the sweetness of the story. So it's he really fell in love. He couldn't help her. She died of cancer. And he couldn't get over her death. So 1 year later, he stole the corpse out of the grave
Mm.
and lived with her about 6 years. Okay, to be honest, now the story is not that sweet anymore, but
Not
it's
anymore.
not anymore. I mean, the police only discovered the crime because her sister had a kind of a suspect against him, and so they came and until the last second, he was standing at her bed and he was sure she will wake up because of all the noise with the police. And now she never woke up, of course, because she
Mm.
was dead for about 6 years. So it must have been, yeah, it's a bizarre story.
Yeah.
I mean, still, it's the sweetness of the story that we're talking about.
Hmm.
So that I mean, yeah, very bizarre. But I love that the song is so written as a love song, of course, and the
Hmm.
story is so bizarre that it's yeah, I love that it's kind of this opposite you're working with. It's the same with the next song too.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, but it's this red rose I had in mind. I don't know why.
Yeah, I like that it's the two sides because as you said, it's how does evil happen? You have this sweet love story, and
Yeah,
it becomes a lot darker once she passed away.
yeah, and this might be the moment when someone made click in his head. So it's I don't know.
Mm, yeah.
It's hard
So
to say. Was he the kind of guy before? Would he have stolen a corpse without falling in love and losing the love? I don't know.
yeah,
It's always a big question mark.
yeah. So cold spring day in 22. You just alluded to it. It's the shortest song on the album. It's got
Yeah,
love the that opening line about footprints in the snow coming from the woods. It's very cinematic. It's a very cinematic line.
it happened round the corner here. It's
Okay.
about, let me say, 30 or 40 miles from here. Is this Hinterkaifeck, where this um, family was completely killed in 22, and this is, yeah, it's a sad story, still unsolved,
Wow.
still unsolved.
That's
Yeah,
a little freaky.
yeah, it is.
Wow. But yeah, this is a beautiful little song, but again, very, very dark lyrics because there's multiple references to to the family being slain and the footsteps in the attic and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
the thing that really catched me is that the vision that you I was never, there were many things I wasn't aware that are quite clear when I tell it. But when you at home and closing the door, there's something that makes you feel safe. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
And this is exactly what they did. They went home, closed the door, and they must have um, had this safe feeling when suddenly someone came and murdered the whole family. So it's I never was aware. I pay attention to these things since I wrote the lyrics. That when I'm home and closing the door, it's like ah
Yeah. You feel a little safer when you close the door, and then you feel a little safer when you lock the door.
yeah yes, you're
But
right.
but it's can be very illusory. It can be an illusion.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's even on the countryside. You know that. I mean, you don't. Yeah, even here we're quite a bit outside of Rising. It's near the airport. Munich airport is there. You don't have the feeling that you have to close the door. To be honest,
mhm.
it's just, and even there, I mean, you should close it and you should lock it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I grew up in a town like that, a little very, very small out in the middle of nowhere kind of place. No, people don't lock their doors kind of thing. Um, Life in a Cage, this is a kind of, I thought this is the reason I asked about the lockdown and when you recorded it, because to me it seems like it serves as a parallel to the lockdown, Life in a Cage. It's in some ways. Tell me a
um,
little bit about this song and how this one came out for you.
um, yeah, it has two sides. It's the interesting thing was it started. It was coming up during my research that 80% of all crimes are committed by men, by male persons. So, and that number is makes it even look better because the worse the crime gets, the more the male thing is coming into it. And it's, yeah, even here in Germany, it's there's always this immigration thing on the table. It's but when you just think it over, it's not a social issue, it's not a cultural issue, it's not a thing of immigrants, it's not religion, um, or something. I mean, it sounds strange, but obviously it's a problem of toxic masculinity, isn't
Hmm.
it?
Yeah.
So it's I mean, when I it it sounds really strange because I mean, I'm male too, so I really feel I don't feel good with that. But yeah, this brought me to this thing which I couldn't believe either because as a even as an artist or a musician, you live in a good world. It's everyone has good intentions, and it's all good. That violence against women is increasing. I wasn't aware. I always thought that society is getting better and open-minded
Mm.
and always, but every 3 days in every country in Europe, every 3 days, a woman is killed by at least her husband. So this is it totally shocked me, and I wasn't aware of that. Even I wasn't aware that this is not getting less, it's getting more.
Mhm.
And this could be a pandemic thing, but it doesn't matter with pandemic or without pandemic. It's just a thing that over the years is getting more and more. And I thought it's really worth to do a song about that, because how do you feel when you when this violence takes place? So this is when you and this was the thought, it must be a life in a cage, because this always is kind of a circle that you're not coming out of it.
Mhm.
So I think it's you need a lot of power to get out of this circle and to open the door and say I am leaving. So it's this is obviously not that easy that you might think of. So it's this was really worth to do a song about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, King of the World is your big epic on the album, just under 13 minutes long. And this is a
Mm.
what I like about the lyrics on this one is that it's almost, I mean, he talks about if I were king of the world, but almost sounds like if I had godlike powers, like that kind
Yeah.
of point of view. He talks about
Yeah.
taking the leaders of the world and putting them in a place and basically like doing something to them to make them, see reason and that kind of thing. Was there anything in particular that inspired that? Was that sort of driven by the Russian Ukraine war, or was it something else maybe?
No, it's more driven about my thought that um, every um, every utopia you're trying to build is ending in a kind of um, totalitarian structure. Because when you just this king of the world, the picture I had is when I was young, even when I was a kid, I thought if I was king of the world, everything was getting better. Of course,
Hmm.
I think everybody thinks that way,
Yeah.
and what you're doing, you're putting away the bad king, and now you're the good king. So, but you're not only the good king for you and not for any others, because
Yeah.
they might think another way. So this is, yeah, maybe this is some kind of uh, the trick of humankind, that maybe this is the reason why nothing gets better, even in hundreds of years or thousands of years. We will all be the same, because we're just we maybe not made for having a world in peace.
Maybe it's a little bit like the Who sang, "Meet the new boss, same as the old boss."
Yeah, that's the same theme. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same subject. Yeah.
Yeah. This album closes with another life beyond control. I love the line about some are born to be good and some are evil. And then the question, can you see it in their eyes? This is sort of central to the album is what
Yeah.
causes this. Um, it, it has a little bit different sounding instrumentation here than what we normally get from RPWL. Some kind of effect on Kali's guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very, how should I say, a very basic idea that um, with Kali came with this very simple riff, and but it catched me at first sight. So it was cool. I thought it's a cool statement to get out of the album
Mhm.
when it's just it makes a nice finish for this, even with another strange case of Karl Denke, that is the another really scaring story. But again, the nice thing about the story, what I like most, is that this is what the line is about. Can you see it in their eyes, in his eyes? That nobody believed when they caught him, and it turned out that there were 30 or 40 victims, and he yeah, they found pots of human fat, and he obviously ate them. And but nobody could believe, because he was the devout citizen from your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so what? How could you see that there is something going on, that he's a bad person? So it is interesting. It's an interesting thing. And in my research, this was the second point, how the lyrics came, was in the beginning of crime working, of police work. um, they tried to find out, it must have been at the beginning of the 20th century, I think, or something.
Hmm.
They tried to find out if there is, if you can see the bad in in the in the person. They try yeah, about how the eyes are, or is the nose, or is the, I mean, ridiculous, but they
Yeah.
did it. They thought about it. So
Yeah.
it's really, but you can't see it. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
That's the thing. Throughout the years, they tried every possible way to think, how can we prevent this? How can we see it coming before it becomes a problem? And they thought about stuff like that. What is it, something to do with brain size? Is it something to do with you know your
Yeah,
physiology? That's because that
yeah,
that was a big
yeah,
part of medicine. And not much was known. Still to this day, not much is known about the brain, really, if you think about it. But yeah, it's
yeah.
were you aware, even like vaguely, about these stories of Carl Tanzler and Carl Denke before you started this, or did you find them and look them up afterwards?
I really found it. I found them when I digged into the things,
Mm.
and it's really when the album inspires some people to dig into this thing, to get a bit of, I mean, it's crime history, how started police work, what how bizarre cases, and this is such an interesting field. So it's yeah, I learned a lot.
Yogi, when somebody buys this album and they listen to it from start to finish, what do you hope that they take away from that experience?
um I hope they made this, I hope we could take them through this emotional journey, that is really, I think it's not that easy, but it's worth doing it,
Mm.
because it's such an interesting thing, and I really hope that I could give people a push to think about it, a push to think about what is really good, what is really bad. Is it just, um, is it that there was something in the, I love to get an explanation for things, you know. I'm
Mm.
just, I think I'm just this kind of guy.
Mm.
It's you have to explain things. And yeah, maybe people can do a bit of can follow us on this journey and get a bit more interested in it, and look up for the stories. It's so interesting. And I think when you once read the story about, for instance, Carl Tanzler, you hear the song with another ears, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you're doing shows in Europe. Is
Yeah.
there going to be anything possible in the United States, or I know it's difficult to tour here for European bands.
Yeah, it is. It is difficult. I mean, we'd love to, and it's always a great pleasure to be there. And but yeah, it's complicated. Maybe there's um, a festival or something coming up that would
Yeah.
be great, but we just focus on Central Europe.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I
And
got to see you at Rozfest, so that was good.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. So the album is called Crime Scene. It comes out March 17th from Gentle Art of Music. There's a single already out there. There's another single coming. Are you going to tell us which one it is?
Cold Spring Day in 22 will come up in about 2 weeks or something.
Okay, great.
Just yeah, before the release, and coming as a second
All right.
single if you want so.
All right. I think by the time this goes live, then that song will be out as a single, and you can get updates at the band's website, rpwl.net. You can order the album in advance from gentleartofmusic.com on CD or vinyl, black, yellow, blue, red, signed, unsigned, whichever you want. And the vinyl comes with really nice. The vinyl comes with download codes and lyric sheet, so that's all awesome. Follow the band on Facebook, rpwl.net, all on Twitter, rpwl_official, and Instagram at rpwl. I think I covered everything.
I think so too.
Yogi Lang of RPWL, thank you so much for telling me about this record. It is, I
Thank
think,
you.
so far I probably have heard it about 4 or 5 times, but I think it might be my favorite since the RPWL experience, at least, and maybe longer. It's really, really good. I'm enjoying it. Thank you so much for telling me about it. I wish you nothing but the best of luck with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your time today. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.